So you're in the market for a new high-end TV, and you've probably been hit with a wall of confusing letters, right? The biggest battle right now is definitely QLED versus OLED. And in this explainer, we are going to break it all down and figure out which one is right for you.
You know that feeling? You walk into an electronics store, you stare at that giant wall of glowing screens, and it's just a sea of acronyms. It's tough to know what actually matters for the money you're about to spend.
So we're going to cut through all that marketing noise, we're going to break down exactly what these technologies are, how they stack up against each other, and help you figure out which one really is the best fit for your living room. Let's start with the absolute basics. Okay, in the world of premium TVs, these two technologies are pretty much the undisputed champions. But, and this is the important part, they are fundamentally different beasts. Understanding that difference, well, that's the key to everything. It really all comes down to one simple, absolutely crucial concept: how each of these TVs creates light. This single distinction explains every single advantage and every single disadvantage that we're about to cover.
Let's call this part the rules of the game. On one side, you've got a technology that lights up its own pixels, one by one, and on the other, you have one that shines a light through its pixels. That's the whole ball game right there.
First up, OLED. This is what's called an emissive display. The easiest way to think about it is that each and every pixel is its own tiny individual light bulb. It can be on, or, and this is so important, it can be turned completely off. That ability to go perfectly, absolutely black is OLED's superpower. And then we have QLED. This is a transmissive display. Now, don't let that similar sounding name fool you. This is basically a supercharged version of the LCD TVs we've all known for years. The key thing to remember is that it uses a powerful backlight that's always on, shining light through a bunch of layers to make a picture. Even the newer mini LED versions just use thousands of smaller backlights, but the core principle is exactly the same. All right, now that we know the basic difference, let's put them head to head. It's time for the picture quality showdown. We're going to break this down round by round to see where each one of these technologies really truly shines.
First up, what is arguably the single most important part of a great picture: contrast. You know, the difference between the absolute darkest blacks and the brightest whites a TV can possibly produce.
And right here, you see OLED's secret weapon. Since its pixels can turn completely off, you get what we call perfect black. That creates an infinite contrast ratio because you're literally comparing bright light to zero light. A QLED, on the other hand, always has its backlight on, so it has to block that light to make black, and a little bit always leaks through. For those deep, inky movie theater blacks, OLED is the undisputed champion, no contest. But what about the other end of the spectrum? Our next round is all about raw power. We're talking brightness, just how much light can the screen actually pump out.
And here, the tables completely turn. Because QLED TVs use that big, powerful, dedicated backlight, they can get way brighter. We're talking over 2,000 nits on some of the high-end models, and a nit is just a measurement of brightness. This is a huge advantage if your TV is in a bright, sunny room, because it just powers through all that glare. For sheer, eye-popping brightness, QLED takes this round.
Okay, for our final picture quality round, let's talk about something really practical. What happens when you're not sitting perfectly dead center in front of the screen? And again, it all comes back to how they make light. Because each OLED pixel makes its own light, the picture looks absolutely fantastic from pretty much any angle you can imagine. With QLEDs, that backlight has to travel through all those layers, so when you move to the side, the colors can look a little washed out and the picture just loses its punch. So for those big family movie nights where people are spread out all over the couch, OLED easily wins this one. So, after 3 intense rounds, here's our tale of the tape. OLED took home the trophies for contrast and viewing angles, all thanks to those amazing self-lit pixels. But QLED fought back hard, winning the brightness battle with its powerhouse backlight. But listen, picture quality is only half the story, right? Now we've got to talk about the real-world stuff that often makes the final decision for us. I'm talking about price, size, and just how practical these things are day to day. This is where QLED has a massive advantage: price. When it comes to getting the absolute biggest screen for your money, QLED is the clear winner, hands down. I mean, just look at this chart. Once you get into those huge 75-inch plus sizes, the price difference becomes pretty dramatic. If you want a giant cinema-style screen without completely emptying your wallet, QLED is the way to go. Now, what about how long they last?
You've probably heard horror stories about burn-in on OLEDs. And yeah, it's true that if you left a static image, like a news channel's logo, on the screen for thousands of hours straight, you could run into trouble. But honestly, it's become super rare with normal TV watching. Modern OLEDs have all kinds of clever tech built in to prevent it, so for most people, it's really not something you need to lose sleep over.
So, after all of that, we get to the final, most important question. We've seen the strengths, we've seen the weaknesses. Now let's figure out which one of these TVs actually belongs in your home.
Okay, you should be leaning towards an OLED if you are a serious movie lover who just craves that perfect cinematic black. If you usually watch TV in a darker room where that incredible contrast can really pop, and if picture quality is your #1 absolute priority, well, OLED is probably your winner. On the other hand, you should probably go for a QLED if your TV room gets a lot of sunlight. If your main goal is getting the biggest screen possible for your budget, QLED gives you way more bang for your buck. And yeah, if you plan to use it as a computer monitor or leave a news channel on all day long, QLED's total immunity to burn-in is a really nice practical advantage. So in the end, it really just boils down to this one question. What's your priority? Are you chasing that perfect picture, that absolute pinnacle of image quality that gives you an unmatched cinematic feel? Or are you looking for a bright, vibrant, and massive screen that's also a fantastic value? The choice is yours.